All right, perfect. So we'll get started. So for those who don't know, my name is Sean Garcia. I'm the PTA president here at Star Academy. We also are joined by Marina. Marina is the vice president of the PTA. We have Brenda on. Brenda is the secretary of the PTA. We also have Helen, who is the treasurer of the PTA and also our Title I committee chair. We have, of course, Dr. Cameron on. Darlene holding it down. Our principal, of course. We have Ryan, who is our SLT School Leadership Team Parent Liaison. And we also have some of our new committee chairs on. So we have Jenny, who is also our Title I representative alternate, and she's the Book Fair committee chair. And then we have Anna, who is stepping into the role of the budget committee chair, and she is also the secretary on the school leadership team. And then I'm gonna just put her on the spot because not everybody knows her, but we have drumroll, our new parent coordinator, Ashley. So Ashley, you wanna just say hi to everybody? And I know I didn't tell you that I was gonna do this, but if you wanna just say hi. She's like, I got stuff going on in the background.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you.
Good to have you, Ashley. And so for those who haven't been in person and met Ashley yet in person, Ashley's come on in the past 2 or 3 weeks, it's been like, as our new parent coordinator, a position that hasn't been filled at STAR for a bit. Those of you who might remember, Miss Alice used to hold that position at STAR, and she retired last year. So we're very happy to have a parent coordinator back at STAR, and to support us as parents, but also support Darlene and Jody because they've been going above and beyond to support us over the past year and a half. So really excited to have Ashley on. Cool. And so so going through the agenda here, did anyone have any recommendations? I'm looking in the chat. Anything that they wanted on the agenda that they don't see on the agenda? Anything that we're missing? All right, cool. Actually, let me do a screen share here. Hey, Chris, what's up? All right. All right. So hopefully folks can see that. So we just went through a little quick welcome and introduction, and we'll shift straight into our principals report with Darlene Cameron. You can go for it, Darlene.
All right. Hi, everybody. I hope you're having a good beginning of the week. I'm going to talk about 3 things today. So first, thank you, Sean, for introducing Ashley Basono. We're so happy to have Ashley with us. Ashley moved from Florida to be with us in New York. She's originally a native New Yorker, very familiar with New York City, but moved to Florida, worked at a school where she helped to support enrollment. She helped to support special education data support. She was, integral to helping families not only make connections within schools, but make connections within the community. And we're so happy to have her. She is bilingual and does speak Spanish. And is technologically savvy. We're really excited to have her. So I just wanted to welcome her officially to all of you, and please, feel free to reach out to her. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was, the chancellor, our current chancellor has made an announcement about, resigning his position as of the end of March, and we now have a new chancellor. And I wanted to talk a little bit about our upcoming state tests regarding 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. I mentioned the chancellor because he has been pretty adamant, and recently in an article in Chalkbeat mentioned that, he really feels that if there's ever a time to opt out of testing, this is the year to opt out of testing. personally, as a principal and educator, I've really been questioning the value of tests in general when it comes to many of our students who, you know, when we think about how tests were created, I'm not sure if it was created with our students in mind. And so right now I'm thinking, you know, considering the fact that there have been inequities in education in general in terms of the achievement gap, where, you know, students of color are often not performing as well on these standardized tests. The tests, you know, in many ways can be biased, and, you know, there's a lot of research that shows that. But this particular year, we've been impacted by technology challenges. We've been impacted by having to change the curriculum to meet the needs of our students who are working remotely and in person, and really thinking about our COVID protocols. We've had 2 school closures that have really impacted, you know, the number of days kids are literally in school. And so right now, the federal government is really insisting that we do state tests for our state to receive funding. So the New York State Education Department is not going to waive the tests. Like, as far as they're concerned, for us to get federal funding from the government, we need to administer the tests. And so I am, you know, definitely encouraging parents to consider opting out this year, because I don't know if it's really fair to our students to assess them in this way. And I am going to be working with other principals in the district on creating a letter that we will share with the current chancellor, the future chancellor, and anybody else in the Department of Education who's willing to listen, to really rethink whether or not we should be putting our students through this. Some of our students have not only been dealing with, you know, not being able to go to school, not seeing their friends, but some of them have actually dealt with people in their family being ill, or, God forbid, you know, passing away, or the children themselves have been sick. And so I don't think it's fair right now to put our children in that position. And so I just wanted to share that with you. And, you know, moving forward, I'm very open to hearing people's opinions and feedback. If people feel differently, definitely let me know. I'm happy to have conversations with people and hear people's opinions. Please know that I still believe wholeheartedly that our main focus is to make sure that our children are critical readers, critical thinkers, critical mathematicians, and critical writers, and that they're able to navigate the world and be successful. So I'm not saying that, you know, we need to decrease the academics that we're doing, or even, you know, change it in any way, except to make sure that we're really supporting our students and making sure that we're reacting to the current times that we're in. So I just wanted to kind of share that. I was thinking that with you. The final thing I want to talk about is COVID, our COVID protocols. And so for those people who are coming to school in person, please be mindful of making sure that when you're filling out the health screening, that you're really being careful about reading each question and really thinking about what some of those questions are. So, for example, one question is, has your child been around somebody who is tested positive for COVID or feels symptomatic for COVID? And so if a child, you know, if you're in a household where somebody in the household feels like they have a sore throat, they have a runny nose, they may have a fever or a headache, they may have lost their sense of taste or smell, it's really, really important that you fill that accurately out on the health screening. And yes, it may mean that your child has to work remotely that day and can't come to school in person. But we have found that some people have not been forthcoming as we need them to be on the health screening survey. And there have been, you know, some very, very serious circumstances of, unfortunately, me as an administrator feeling as though if we had had the information earlier, we may have prevented other people from having COVID. And so this is really, really part of the trust of our community, and a way of ensuring that our community stays safe. And so we are each other's kind of safety agent. Like, we're there for each other to support each other. And, you know, I know that, you know, it may be challenging sometimes, but, you know, we definitely want to work together. So please be sure to fill out, you know, that health screening as accurately as possible. The last thing I want to talk about is COVID testing in our school. So I sent out some messages earlier in the week around COVID testing and how it's changed a little bit. I think I sent it last week, actually, around how COVID testing has changed in the building. And so we have been advocating to our superintendent. We have been working with the lab site that comes in to try and ensure we get to test as many people as possible. So today we were able to test over 40 people at Star Academy, which is, a fairly good number. Of course, we always want to test as many people as possible, but our school nurse has created a schedule so that we can ensure that everyone who's in the building, when we anticipate, them being in the building, can be tested at least once a month. And so we'll go on this rotation schedule to make sure that we're testing every single person in the building. Unfortunately, it's not the weekly testing that we had previously, but it is the best that we can do, knowing that we've now been limited in the amount of time that the lab comes. We no longer have 2 labs serving the 2 schools in the building. We have 1 lab serving both schools in the building. And we have been going above and beyond the limit that we're supposed to go. We're supposed to test 15 people a week, which is up from 13 people, which it was, about a month ago. So unfortunately, we can't test as many people as we'd like, and we don't have as much time for testing. But our school nurse has been really helpful in kind of creating this schedule and system to make sure that as much as possible, everybody in the building is tested at least once a month. And so we're going to try this out for a while. We do encourage you to get your child tested in those weeks in between, just to, make sure that, we're being as cautious as possible. And if you have any questions or concerns about that, I'll definitely be here for the Q&A portion of our meeting. So thanks so much, everybody.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Darlene. And if you have any questions about the COVID protocols, about, the chancellor resignation, the what is the parent coordinator's position, all these kind of things, either write them down or you could drop them in the chat. And then we'll get to them when we get to the Q&A portion of our meeting. Sometimes I feel like our meetings are 90 minutes, and by the time we get to the end, people forget their questions. So write it down. Just a friendly reminder. And I know Brenda said in the chat, and then people started replying pretty promptly, but definitely check in with your first name in the chat so we can get you for attendance. All right, cool. Moving forward. So new section of our agenda. We've been talking about it for the past couple months, but the formation of committees has been really important for me as I've been in the office here for the PTA, to think about how to get the committees formed and to get the committees off the ground. The committees are really like the working groups of the PTA. It's how you can participate, really. If you're not on the executive board, right? Yes, this is participating, being at the highest voting body and our general meeting. But if you want to find ways to volunteer throughout the month and contribute to the efforts of the PTA and what's going on at the school, the committees are the best way to do that. And so I'm really excited that we finally have some committees off the ground and we're forming some new ones. So in any case, this new section is our committee report section, where we're going to hear from our committee chairs. So our book fair committee is the first one that we'll be having report back. So Jenny, you could take it away.
Awesome. Hey, everyone. So as Sean said, I'm book fair committee chair currently. There's a lot of folks on here, I think, also from the book fair committee. So I made a list of what I'm going to be going over. And if I miss anything, feel free to put it in the chat, anyone that's on the committee. Or if you have questions, feel free to put it in the chat. So I'm just going to be going over our first actual virtual book fair that just passed. So I made my notes, so bear with me. There's a few things we're going to be going over. Try to hit everything, and if you have questions, we can, I guess, do that in the Q&A. So first off, thought it was pretty successful. We had a pretty, I think for me anyway, I think it was pretty great in terms of the money that we were able to raise. We were think our goal was about $1,600, and we were able to raise $2,150 for this virtual book fair, which is pretty fantastic. We got about $600 in scholastic rewards. And so the main purpose for this virtual book fair was to go and support our fifth graders experience. So that money that we did raise, which is in rewards dollars, will go towards enhancing the fifth grade experience for their graduation. And we'll be talking about that on Friday a little bit more. But we did raise about $600, which is fantastic. And thank you all for participating and sharing, and all the teachers and staff and parents for spreading the word and getting that out there and helping us surpass our goal. We were able to formulate a book fair committee, which is fantastic. So a lot of people, we put in some work to meeting that goal, and we worked as a team. So that was awesome. And then we were able to do a lot of marketing around that as well. At the pep rally, we also put on Dojo to reach out to parents. We created the listserv for PTA to be able to spread that and share it a little bit more widely than just on our meetings and on Dojo. And then we also created an Instagram page to be able to share the information on there and kind of spread the word that way as well. We also hosted, with the help of Miss Cameron, our first virtual book fair tour, which was pretty good. We had about a dozen people on, I believe, so that was pretty successful. So she was able to go over, what the book fair would entail, how it would work, and all that, being that this is the first time that we were not able to have our book fair in person. So that was really, really helpful. We also were able to host with Miss Wolf a book fair reading. So we got some kids involved. She was able to do a Lunar New Year book fair reading with the kids, and they loved it. She did a little activity afterwards, because I believe the book was about dragon and some really cool stuff. And so the kids were able to draw a dragon, and she showed us a video on how to do that. And everybody was really involved. The kids really, really enjoyed that. So hopefully we can do that again soon. And with that, we hosted a little giveaway, and we were able to, I think it was $25. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, or anybody that knows, but we were able to give away $25 to one of the kids on the call. And so the parents sent us a list, and we were able to ship them their books of choice, which was pretty cool. I think it's the first time that we ever did that I know of. So that was for me really exciting to see all the kids enjoying themselves and getting to know each other. So I think that was pretty much the gist of how this book fair, our virtual book fair, worked, and all the things we did. We did have plans for another giveaway, but we didn't get around to doing that. So what we did was refocus our efforts on getting as much as we could to support the fifth grade experience. And so I just want to invite everybody to our March 5th meeting on Friday. That's going to be at 3 p.m. We'll be going over the Readathon Planning, what that would look like. And we want to get as many parents involved in coming on and helping with the planning of our Readathon, which is one of our biggest fundraisers. Then we'll be also going over the usage of our scholastic rewards dollars, which we have a little bit over $3,500, and discussing how we can use those funds to supporting our school and our students and our teachers. And then lastly, discussion of our spring book fair. We're thinking about doing one in person and possibly hosting another one online. So we'll be going over all those three things on Friday. We'll put the information for the meeting in the chat. And if you have any questions, let me know. I know I'm a little over time, sorry, but hopefully I hit everything. And if you have questions, I'll be on for the Q&A portion. Thanks, y'all.
Yeah, awesome. So definitely a lot going on with the book fair committee. So if you are interested, Friday, March 5th at 3 p.m. Will be the next committee meeting. We'll share the credentials in the chat, like Jenny was saying. And if you're interested in that committee, definitely let us know. Going forward, I was trying to pull it up, but it didn't happen. Going forward, we will hear from our budget committee, and we'll hear from Anna from the budget committee. And also, too, we're going to be reviewing our proposed budget. So I'll pull that up now as Anna's talking.
Thank you, Sean. Sean, Helen, Jenny and I met on Friday. It was our first budget committee meeting. We used previous years as a template, but as we all know, this year is very different from previous years. So our projections are seriously streamlined from previous years. We could not include funds from movie nights or Valentine's Day candygrams or any holiday shopping fundraisers from the past. We are beginning our balance with $11,753.57. Our membership dues, membership drive. We're thinking about asking people to voluntarily contribute monies as members of the PTA, parent members, to contribute monies when and if they can to spur on more income. Amazon Smile, some of these estimates are conservative. Amazon Smile, we marked it at 500, but we're pretty sure that we actually rake in more money than 500. So please remember, most of us, if not all of us, use Amazon, and we know people who use Amazon. So spread the word to do all your shopping through Amazon Smile and to mark Star Academy as your charity of choice, please, and thank you. Bake sales and chocolate bar sale, we were thinking about holding a bake sale in the spring, like our spring book fair, possibly in person outdoors, or we were also just brainstorming ideas and maybe having some sort of mail order thing happening. Again, that's for the fundraising committee to work out and hash out. So we were anticipating that raking in $400. Readathon, we anticipate being our largest fundraiser, and that might actually be more feasible this year than other years, given that most of our children are home and confined to the indoors, not just because of the pandemic, but because of the weather. So that frees up more time for them to read. School kids supplies at the end of every year, each class. It's purely voluntary on the parents' part, where they're offered the opportunity to have a box of supplies shipped directly to the school so that it's right there on the first day of school for their child. It's all the necessary supplies on the supply list. Each grade has a different cost for each supply box. Of course, we didn't do it this year. The school was kind enough to provide all the supplies for our students. This year, anticipating that school may be open full-time in person in September. So if we do the school kids supplies, perhaps we'll be doing a sliding scale, because we understand that people are under tremendous financial strain. So there may be a sliding scale available to parents who cannot pay the full amount. The Scholastic Book Fair for the spring, Sean, is $300, we anticipate. Okay, so the spring book fair, again, I think this is a conservative number, $300, given the fact that they raked in over 2,000, which was well over their goal. On the next page, we see and so this gives us an income of what we anticipate to be $5,100. On the next page, we see our anticipated expenses, which, the bake sales, the book fair subsidy, picture day subsidy, school supply subsidy, the yearbook and graduation costs totals $1,800. So we have anticipated fund balance of $15,053.57. But this budget is malleable, given that we are going to have a fundraising committee formed, and that they can brainstorm other in more ingenious ways of bringing in money in this virtual world we now find ourselves living in.
Yeah, awesome, Anna.
Thank you.
Yeah. So for those who are new to the PTA too, if you don't know what the budget is, we do it at the end of each school year. We form the budget for the upcoming year, and it's kind of like our it's a reflection of the large expenses and income that we anticipate for the coming year, based off of like historically events that we do. So Anna was saying, like, we looked at that stuff, but then we were like, oh, this is probably not going to happen because we're not in person. This is not going to happen because the date already passed. This is not going to happen because, our parents are financially stressed. So what can we do? What would make more sense? And that's kind of how we came up with this. So this is actually the budget that should have been done in June of last year. But of course, we're in the heat of the pandemic and we weren't in operation. So we're a little behind schedule. And then every year we do a mid-year budget, which is kind of reflecting on the budget, how we're doing, what do we need to adjust. And so that is due kind of like yesterday. So we're hoping to pass this proposed budget tonight, so that we can submit it to Darlene and we can submit it to the District 1 office. And like Anna was saying, the fundraising committee can propose and come up with other fundraising ideas, and that will just kind of be like, gravy, icing on the cake kind of thing. But this was like the conservative numbers that we came to, so that we are, just being proactive and trying to make sure we're setting goals for ourselves. So just in terms of how this works, in terms of the order of things, looking at this budget, anyone can make any amendments to the budget that they want right now from the floor, if they have any amendments that they want to make. But if people are in support of this budget, we can move forward with passing it. If there's some people who want to contest it, we can do a vote. But just that's the order of business. So does anybody have any amendments or any questions on the proposed budget? And you can write it in the chat too if you can't unmute yourself. All right, cool. I take the silence as everyone being in favor of stuff.
I'm sorry, there was a question about whether or not Picture Day is a fundraiser for the school.
Right. So Picture Day is usually something that is placed as an income and expense on our budget, but not because it's a fundraiser. It's usually because the PTA fronts the money or collects the money and then pays out the company that is going to provide us the service. But this year, the Picture Day, which we'll talk about later on in our agenda, is going to be paid from parent directly to service provider. And so the PTA will not act as a conduit. So it will not go through our bank account. And that's why it's not in the budget this year. So it's not usually a fundraiser. In fact, if you see, it is an expense this year because we voted 2 meetings ago, I think it was, to allocate $450 to subsidize parents who can't afford the $15 option. So yeah, so it's an expense actually this year. Good question. And yeah, the book fair subsidy was also the money that we voted on having money available for families who need support in purchasing books. No parents contacted us this last book fair, but we still have that $200 available for the upcoming book fair in the spring. Cool. So is everybody in favor? You can throw a thumbs up on the Zoom if you know how to do it, or in the chat, you could just say yes or in favor, something like that, just so that Brenda has it for the records. Awesome. I see a bunch of thumbs up. Cool. Awesome. So I think everyone's in favor of the proposed budget. So congratulations to the budget committee for getting that done. And yeah, we'll have another budget committee, not this month, but probably in late April. So Anna will let everybody know in late April, we'll probably have one so we can start preparing for the end of year budget planning, so that we can get ready for next year. Awesome. Cool. So thanks again to our committee chairs. It's always great to have some more voices on the Zoom calls and in the meetings. Good job. So moving into our old business, last month we had our first virtual movie night. We aired the movie Soul. We had, I think at the height, around 25 participants. So it was a very successful movie night. You know, the virtual streaming is always a little delayed and everything, so we were concerned, but kids don't care. They were having fun. They were into it. And we talked about how there was a good mix of grades. So there was like kindergarten kids and then third or fourth graders, you know, so it was a really good mix, which was nice to see. Even one of the kids gave the PTA a shout out and said thank you to the PTA and how nice it was that the PTA put it together. So that was nice. And then there was like me and Darlene were monitoring the chat because the third and fourth graders were, you know, making like they was on AOL, you know, they was like chatting and stuff. We were like, oh, let's get a little interesting on the chat. Yeah, they were like sharing Zoom credentials. I was like, all right, relax. Let's not get crazy. But it was very cute. And so we wanted to keep that going. We talked about doing it every last Thursday of the month. So this month, though, the last Thursday of the month falls on our spring break. So we are proposing doing it on March 18th, which is the last Thursday in session. So we want to see if people were into that idea. And this is the 3 movies that the board came together on recommending to be voted on. So Over the Moon was something that it was on last month's ballot. It came in second. A lot of kids really wanted to see it, so we put it back on there. And then I don't know if it's Raya or Raya, how to pronounce it, the new Disney movie that's coming out tomorrow, or Friday. I'm losing track of the days. Or it already came out, I don't know. So the new Disney movie, Raya and the Last Dragon, and then the new Tom and Jerry movie that came out on HBO. So yeah, so we were gonna do like we did last month, which was very successful. We gave this slide to Jody, and she shared it at the pep rally. And like last month, 100 kids voted at the pep rally, and that was really exciting to have them part of that little democratic experience. And so we were thinking on these 3 movies and having them vote again, but wanted to see how people felt about it. Was there another movie that people wanted to recommend that thought was a better pick? Maybe something that has to do with Women's History Month, things like that we've talked about. Any ideas? All right, cool. So it sounds like people are into these. And then the March 18th, Thursday, March 18th, we were going with the same time slot of 5:45. Do people think that worked? Do they think it was too late? Is there a better time that we can do it? What are folks' thoughts on that?
I thought the time was perfect last time. Like it ended early enough to get the kid into bed at a reasonable hour, so that was good.
All right, cool. Yeah. And we did like little intermission breaks and stuff like that. So we're gonna keep brainstorming too how to make it a little bit more interactive, maybe doing another kind of little giveaway or something like that in the chat. Keep the kids engaged. All right, cool. So that will be our next movie night, March 18th at 5:45. The other event that we did last month, Jenny already spoke to it, was our Lunar New Year book reading, which was very successful. But Cheryl, who is also part of the book fair committee, mentioned that she would love to continue to do these monthly book readings in partnership with the PTA. So I'm sure they'll be talking about that at Friday's meeting as well. So if you have any ideas on like different ways to do book readings or different book readings you've seen that are successful, either go to the committee meeting if you can, or shoot ideas to Cheryl or Jenny. And then updates on our school picture day. So remember we talked about before, for those who have been at prior meetings, that we are going to be doing school pictures this year, much later than we have in the past, of course, because of the pandemic. We are going to be doing in-person pictures, and they're going to be on a scheduled scheduled format. So we have 2 Tuesdays happening next month. So April 13th and April 20th, where kids who are on site, we're going to organize it with Jody and Darlene and the rest of the staff. Kids who are on site will be taking their pictures during those days. And then kids who are not on site, who are virtual hybrid, can schedule to come at a 15-minute interval after school on April 13th for the 20th. And everything is, we talked about last meeting, everything is social distance and in accordance with like COVID protocols, and everything sanitized and all that kind of stuff. So it should be really exciting. Also too, they made their entry-level package very affordable, $15, which gets I think like 3 or 4 main photo portrait kind of things, right, Brenda? And then the digital one. The digital one's the most important, right? These days. But yeah, so a really affordable entry option. And then they have other tiers and stuff like that we'll share as we get closer to those dates. But yeah, that's happening Tuesday, April 13th and the 20th. It was originally April 6th and the 13th, but April 6th got booked up for them. So we pushed it back to April 13th and the 20th. Any questions on picture day and how it's running? We talked about it a little bit last month, but people might not have been here. All right, cool. So yeah, we'll keep you posted and get you more details on that. New business that we have to discuss. Jenny also mentioned our readathon. Our readathon, for those who don't know how it works, is basically, kids participating and reading and kind of clocking their minutes or hours or pages that they read, I forget. And they're getting like sponsors to like, motivate them, support them in their reading goals. It's like, say you sign up for like a breast cancer awareness march, and you get people to donate to you going through this march. It's kind of like the same kind of concept, but historically has been a very major fundraiser for Star, bringing in close to like $7,000 each time we do it, which is and also 80% of that goes back to the Star PTA, which is better than any other fundraiser out there. Every other fundraiser out there that works with PTAs is like 40%, 50% at the highest. Many of them are very exploitive. A lot of these companies are very predatory. They're trying to like get you to do fundraisers for them because they're trying to make money. So it's very nice to have something like the Readathon where they're giving you a lot of the money back. But in any case, like Anna was saying, potentially one of our biggest fundraisers of the year. We haven't done it in a while, so we definitely going to need some help in making it successful. And definitely folks who have participated or organized the readathons in the past, being able to, if we could have some of those folks contribute, that'd be great too. So the book fair committee will be talking about it, but also the fundraising committee will be talking about it. And the fundraising committee will be meeting later on this month as well. So, yes. Oh, the other thing on the readathon. So initially, earlier this year, we talked about doing March 21st as the start date for the readathon. Historically, we do a month-long readathon. Readathon, though, they recommend, the actual company Readathon, they recommend a 2-week window, because they say that that's like the smaller window actually makes it more motivation for fundraising to happen, right? There's like a little bit more incentive because there's like a tighter timetable. But we haven't done that historically. We've done the month, from my understanding. So there's 2 questions. One, do we want to do the 2 weeks or 4-week option? And the second question for everyone tonight is, do we want to do the March 21st, which would give us like spring break as a time to be part of the readathon and encourage kids to read during spring break? Or do we want to wait till after spring break when we come back on April 5th and have kids in session? Because sometimes us as parents, we check out during breaks, and so we might not be motivating our kids to do the readathon. So there's, it's pros and cons to this too. So maybe we can start with the question on the dates first. Do folks think that it's good to do it prior to spring break or after spring break?
I think after spring break, April 5th.
Chris, I think you were talking, but you're muted.
Would you want to quickly just make a poll to be easier for everybody to vote? Or
I'm not as poll savvy. Can you do it? Because I have you as a co-host.
I could try.
I'm like, "Arr." Chris, you were gonna say something?
Oh, I was gonna say a poll.
There you go. Okay, so maybe we'll do that. While we're discussing a little bit more, we'll create the poll. Brenda, you got it, or should someone else do it?
No, I'm trying to figure out.
Anyone else poll savvy?
I could try. I
All
could
right,
try.
I'll make you a co-host.
Yeah.
I'll make you a co-host.
Cool, thanks.
I'm like, "Arr." I mean, I probably could do it, but I'm like, I haven't done it in a while. All right, cool. So we'll do that poll. So the other question, then, and maybe we have to make a poll for this one too, but do people think the 2 weeks is good, or should we just stick with the traditional 4 weeks that we've been doing?
Vote for 4 weeks. 2 weeks goes by like that.
Yeah, I would say 4 weeks.
I think if it's not broken, don't fix it. So just stick with the 4.
As well, in the chat, we have a vote for 4 weeks as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also think too, like in terms of our volunteer capabilities, you know what I mean? Like just knowing our volunteer base. They might recommend 2 weeks, but for us is like we need a little bit more wiggle room. Especially during a pandemic. It's a little stressful to have a 2-week kind of window for this kind of stuff. All right. So yeah, maybe we go with the 4 weeks, and then Darlene's gonna work on getting
Okay.
that.
So I don't think the poll's gonna happen, but I think what we can do is ask people what option they prefer and just say like whatever that option is, and ask them to use the check, this little reaction I'm using right now, to approve that one. And then if they don't want, they could wait and then check on the second option. Because we're voting on 2 different things, right?
Yep. Okay, that sounds good. So everybody knows how to access the little check thing.
It's the little check mark under the reactions button. So underneath the hand clap, there's a little check mark that says yes. And then there's a little X that says no.
Sean, can you just stop sharing for a moment so I could see everybody just to see? Yeah, perfect. So all
right,
in favor?
Cool. Go for it.
All in favor for the 4 weeks, just thumbs up for the run.
No, I think we're good on the 4-week
vote.
vote. I think we're doing the vote on the pre-spring break or post-spring break, right?
Okay, yeah.
I think so. Okay.
Oh yeah, I already have that in my notes. So for the pre-spring break, thumbs up if you agree with it. So it will start the 21st and then run into spring break. I don't, just one.
Yeah, Josh, but that's Josh and Carmen, so that's 2 votes
Yeah.
there.
So that's 2 votes. And how about the after spring break? So after we come back from spring break, and then I'll run further into April. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anybody else? Thumbs up. Okay, so it looks like the after spring break time slot 1.
Okay, awesome. So after spring break and then a 4-week period. So like April 5th to either the end of April or like April 5th to May 3rd or 4th, whatever. So I think that's good too for the fundraising committee because they'll give them a little bit more time to get everything in order for the readathon. Okay, awesome. So yeah, so that's great. Thank you everybody, and thanks Brenda for moderating the vote. And Darlene for trying to make the poll. So we will go forward with that. And then the next thing on new business is discussing the 2 next committees that we will be putting together, hoping that we can get some of y'all to volunteer for. And hopefully it's not the same folks who are on the other committees, some new blood. So in any case, just a reminder, the committees meet not that frequently, once a month maybe. Twice if there's like in the middle of activity they need to meet for, but just like once a month, and it's just like a 30-minute at max 60-minute check-in. So this is a great way to get involved and not be overwhelmed. But in any case, the 2 committees that we kind of need formed, one is the fundraising committee to help now carry out the budget that we just approved tonight. I know many people have been interested in doing the fundraising committee in the past, so hopefully we can get some of those folks to volunteer. The next fundraising committee date is going to be on March 11th, but the time is to be determined based on who are the folks that are volunteering for the committee. We will poll those individuals and determine the meeting time that works best for that group. But we're trying to go with the second Thursday of the month for the fundraising committee. So that's why it's March 11th. So in any case, if you're interested in joining the fundraising committee, we're going to be pulling out a poll on Class Dojo. We'll be putting out a poll on our listserv, kind of saying, these are our committees. Do you want to sign up for them? You can also now in the chat say, hey, I'm interested in participating in this committee, and Brenda will get it recorded. So the fundraising committee, of course, is in charge of helping organize our fundraisers, do the planning, submitting proposals to us, the general meeting, to large board, and us voting on the proposed fundraisers that they're putting forward. So it's not a decision-making body. It's more of a working group and, proposal making. Now, that being on the fundraising committee does not mean that you have to be part of every fundraiser. That would be unsustainable. You might not ever even participate in the actual fundraisers. You're helping with the planning for the fundraisers. So that's just an important thing to remember, because I know sometimes people get like a little, oh, I don't want to volunteer for this committee because I know I'm not going to be able to step up for these things because work is crazy, whatever. So don't get overwhelmed. We just need people to be in the mix for planning. The second committee that we need to start talking about is our nominations committee. So the nominations committee is the committee that's in charge of organizing the nominees and for our elections that happen in May. It's crazy. We just started the year. Next month we got April meeting, and that's it. The following month is elections. It's crazy. So we're almost at the end of the year and it's just upon us. So in any case, we need to start getting that committee together. And this committee is composed of people who do not intend to run for office on the executive board. So if you don't intend to run for office on the executive board or to be a chairperson of the Title I committee, you can be on this nominations committee. So this is great for people who are on the board currently, who don't want to run another term because life is changing for you and you want to like groom the next group to come in. This is great for people who are chair people of committees and, you know, want to support leadership or whatever. In any case, it's really important for us to be democratic, that we have a nominations committee and that we're actually getting nominees. Every year is like, you want to run? Okay, let's do it. Like that shouldn't be how it is. It should be like, let's put some real planning into it. Let's really think about the commitments and all that kind of stuff. And then let's actually do some like, let's get like some information out to the parents about who these nominees are. You know, like why this person wants to run for this office, why they might be good for the office. Here's a little picture of them, especially since we're not in person. So in any case, the nomination committees is very important for the democratic function of our organization. So we're going to be forming that now. We don't have a date that committee will be meeting, but hopefully we can get that committee to start meeting either late March, early April, to start getting ready for our May elections. So yeah, same thing. The poll will go out. You can check off that you're interested in that nominations committee, or you can drop it in the chat as well for Brenda to record. All right, cool. Any questions about the committees? Everyone's excited? Everyone's gonna join the committee? Awesome. Don't get scared of the committees. It's not that much work. All right. Next point is our treasurer's report. Healing from Helen, our treasurer. You got the floor, Helen. I'll put the treasurer's report on my screen.
So if you could just pull up the latest report that I compiled today. So in February, the balance was $12,608.77. You could see there was a small increase. It says interest. Interest was on the regular bank account. And then we also have a savings account, which accrues like 4 cents per month. And then under, I think we had a question about whether or not Amazon Smile was, the deposits were being made into the account. So for last month there was, and it was $68.61. So as of today, the balance in the account is $12,677.87. And that's about it. Does anyone have any questions?
Hey, Helen. I don't see the book fair reward profits on there, but I'll just shoot you the number so you can just update it.
Yeah, so that, I mean, it's under expenses, which technically it shouldn't be. I saw in previous spreadsheets that it was included, but it's kind of like a little confusing. Number one. Number two, this is based off of what the bank account says. That's how I'm used to preparing financial reports. I mean, I think it's, like I said, I'm basing this off of what's in the bank account. And I think that's a good idea moving forward, because there's actually like backup, you know, like it can be, there's documents to support what it is. I don't know when, like the Scholastic Book Fair, the money that was made, when it's going to be deposited or so forth. But once it shows in the bank account, then I would put it in this report. But I guess that's something that we could discuss in the executive board meeting. But this is based off of the banking. Does anyone have any other questions?
Well, yeah, I think there probably we have to rework some of the placement of things for sure. It doesn't make sense in expenses. The reward profit section column though is to put stuff that is not self-reflected in our bank account. So the treasurer's report should reflect all income of all forms, whether it be in our bank account or not. So we should definitely the board, we can work offline and try to rework this a little bit so it's a little clearer. Because we should have like the stuff that we made. Because the fact, so for people's understanding, the Scholastic dollars that we have over $3,500 in Scholastic dollars. That's internal currency with Scholastic. So it's not something that we'll ever get into our bank account. It's stuff that we use through the Scholastic catalog, which there is a vast catalog. It has a lot of stuff. And so the money that we raise on the virtual book fair will never go into our bank account and will only be the Scholastic dollars. So that's we should not only get that five whatever on there, but also the 3,500. So Helen, we'll work with you to restructure this a little bit.
Yeah, because that doesn't, like I have the numbers, but it just, I don't know. I think it's more confusing just because then you have real money and virtual money, you know? I mean, you could definitely include it.
It
but
is
it
real
has to
money
fit
because it's just a currency that we can't we use differently. So it is funds available to us, you know. So we have to get it in the report. Yeah.
in.
So in any case, we'll work on it offline.
Right,
for
but I'm
sure.
talking about like money in the bank people actually pay bills with. So that's how I look at it. But yeah, we'll work it out. But anyway, as of today, this is what's in the bank account. As far as the book fair stuff and any other thing, we can just talk about it. Reworking this so that it's not confusing. Yeah, that's all. Does anyone else have any questions? Nope. Okay, good. Okay.
All right, perfect. And the other thing was just the update on the taxes we talked about at the board meeting. You want to go give a quick report on that?
So the taxes, I submitted the federal and the state. And unfortunately, this year there was a change made where the state taxes were supposed to filed under a completely different website. And then there were prior board members' names who were still like primary users under that website where we filed the federal tax return. Anyway, so I went ahead and requested my own login, my own ID. And since the state return was attached to the federal, they gave me instructions that I had to delete the state. Well, I had to delete the state return, which I went ahead and did. And in turn, what they didn't tell me is that in doing so, it would wipe out the return completely. So I had to do it from scratch. Luckily, I took notes on what was submitted originally. And I've worked on it a little bit today as well. So I'm planning to have this finalized by tomorrow. I was just really annoyed at all of the extra work that it took, because it took a while to get it to balance out and everything to jive. And the reason that I had to request my own login was because I wasn't even part of, I didn't have a profile within the website. So it's like, how am I going to file a return using all these numbers under someone's name who I don't even know, right? And it's not ethical and it's not accurate. So in doing the accurate ethical thing, they said, okay, wipe it all out, start from scratch, homegirl. That's what happened. And it's a lot of work, let me tell you. So that's basically it. As soon as the federal is done, then the state it's like minor. And like I said, that's the second website, which I already got the login and information for, because for a couple of months, it wasn't even recognizing the taxpayer ID number that we have. It wasn't recognizing it. And the message that would come back was, okay, well, if your name doesn't come up, just keep trying, over the next couple of weeks. And then eventually I just kept trying and I was like, look, I'm just going to email them and call them. And then I got a response. So does anyone have any questions regarding taxes? I know it's exciting stuff, right?
No, but thank you for all the work on that. Yeah, we know it's a lot of hard work, so we appreciate it. And you got a little tax hustle on the side that you want to promote? No, I'm just
No,
You
not
doing
at
taxes for parents?
all.
What's going on?
You know, it's
Um,
funny. I used to be a tax preparer. I worked for 2 seasons, and it's very interesting the scenarios that people come up with and how to get the biggest returns.
I can imagine. So yeah, so sticking with Helen, get a quick report. I know the Title One committee met. If you want to give us a little update on what's going on with Title One stuff.
Well, actually, an official committee doesn't exist. I mean, it's myself, Jenny's the alternate. Ryan said that he would be part of the committee. I, some of us were at the SLT meeting last night where I shared our official email address to conduct official Title I business. And Lauren, I'm looking forward to hearing from Lauren because of the kind of, I don't know what to call what they did, Darlene, like the little.
It's a jam board. And so what happened is we asked all of our SLT members to write on little kind of virtual Post-it notes their suggestions for how we could utilize, how we can put into action some of the plans we have for our CEP goals. And we're going to use those ideas to think about a vehicle for using our Title I funds. And so I actually met with Lauren today. She's a second grade teacher, and she actually was going to compile all of the data that we collected for you, Helen, and she's going to send it to you so that you have a sense of what people wanted to think about the most for using the funds towards the CEP goals. And if you wanted to use that information to create a survey of some sort, where you could do like a monkey survey where, okay, the top 4 choices, we're going to make a survey for all families to decide what they want. You could always do that to kind of get a better sense of more voices of how we want to spend the money, using a list that's selected by, our school leadership team, that's kind of well informed for what we need as a school.
Okay. Yeah, that would be great. And actually, since Ashley, can you just put your email in the chat? Because I wanted to email you directly with like just a question or two regarding Title I. I have to seize the moment that I have you now here. Does anyone have any questions or anything? No.
No, I would just say on the Title I stuff, for those who are interested in that too, if you want to work on that stuff, to contact Helen. Remember,
Yeah.
the Title I is parents making the decision. That's the one thing I would say. At the SLT meeting, we have a dominance of teachers. Even though we've elected parents to be on there, we only have 3 or 4 parents who are showing up regularly. So while I think is important that we get the feedback from the SLT on what they vote in terms of placing the money, that we need to make sure that the parents are the ones that have the final decision. So I like this idea of doing like a survey, because there's nothing against teachers and staff, but there needs to be some boundaries on these things, because like, for instance, if because the thing is, SLTs are supposed to be like a 50-50 split, parents and teachers. And while we have been striving for that, it's been hard to get the parent participation. The SLT forms the goals, and that is a guiding force for the Title I. But just if we can figure out ways to get more parent engagement on making the final decision, I think too, is a way to motivate more parents to be involved in the Title I discussion, understanding what a Title I school is, all that kind of stuff.
Well, that's why I just asked Ashley for her email address, because I want to speak to her, not during the general meeting, but on the side to just, address that. I mean, who better to talk to than the parent coordinator to get more input? And I feel like in this whole conversation with, how to use these funds, what's missing is like, I'm really interested in knowing like, what are like Spanish speaking parents doing? Like, even if the primary language is Spanish and they wanted to attend any of these meetings, how could they fully participate? Like, how do we make that happen? So that's just, So SLT is SLT. I have a lot of work to do with Title I, and I'm doing my best to kind of like chime in and try to like find out more information, how to make it more, I guess, equitable, and just like find out like what, because we don't really see other parents. I mean, we get excited at drop off in the morning when we actually recognize each other with our mask on. So it's like, how do we promote that within just the realities of what's going on now? So that's it. Thank you, Ashley, for your email. And then the email in the chat, that 01M063 Title 1 pack@schools.nyc.gov. I'm so proud of myself that I actually memorized this thing. Yesterday I was a little mixed up, but today I got it. So if anyone has any questions or suggestions regarding Title I, feel free to send an email. And that email address, I check it, and Jenny has access to it as well. So you would be hearing back from either one of us or both of us. And that's all I have to say. Is there any more questions or anything? Nope. Okay. And sorry, but I gotta go. I have to put this kid in bed in 20 minutes. So
Thanks, Ellen. All right, so keeping with the conversation on the school leadership team, we have Ryan, our parent liaison, on here for a report.
Hi, not a lot more to report than what Dr. Cameron Helm already said. We had a productive meeting going through the jam boards, prioritizing a lot of the things we can do to support the CEP goals. Talk a little bit about and try to brainstorm a little bit about what we might do to promote better attendance, to reduce chronic absenteeism. And I think one of the interesting things, this is sort of continuing with the theme that we have, sort of reorienting a lot of our goals in SLT this year, because of how late in the school year it is going to be hard to get students below the line where they're no longer chronically absent based on the number of days left. So just trying to think about how we could increase attendance going forward from there. But yeah, it was a lot of working on the jam boards to figure out how to support those goals. I'm really interested to see what Lauren puts together in terms of the data that was collected from there. But yeah, not much to report beyond that. It's a productive jam board session.
Awesome. And I put it in the agenda for the next meeting being on April 5th, because on the bylaws it says every first Monday, but I don't know if you had decided on that. I think there was some, because of the break, because of spring break. But definitely, whatever the date is, high recommendation to get more parents on the SLT involved. You know,
Are you
it's
asking about the date for the next SLT meeting, Sean?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, try to get on the SLT meetings if you can and contribute and be part of that process. You know, it's a very powerful vehicle, but it's still a little bit teacher dominant. And so we need to make sure as parents that we're kind of stepping up and ensuring some more balance, you know, even though the parents that are on there are repping for us, we need to make sure that we have more voices.
Yeah, and I do want to add that I do think everybody on SLT on the Star Academy side has done a very good job of trying to figure out how to make this more inclusive to parents. This is like my second year on SLT. And yeah, a lot of it is kind of intimidating at first because, you know, I'm not an educator. I don't know about putting together CEP goals and things like that. I think Darlene and Jody and Ms. Stein and Lauren have done a very good job of trying to figure out ways to be more inclusive for the parents there. So I know like the handful of us that do show up have found it to be a lot more welcoming and engaging this year than in the past. So you know, if we do get more parents showing up, I hope they'll also find it to be as interesting as I have this year.
Well, maybe then a question to parents who have gone on but haven't been as consistent on there. Is there any feedback that you have for the SLT so that Ryan and Anna can take it back to the SLT on how they can get more parents involved? Do you feel like there's enough outreach happening to parents for the SLT meetings? Do you feel like your voice is being heard when you're in the SLT? Anybody have any thoughts on that stuff?
think I'm looking at all the faces on here, and a lot of you are on the SLT meeting. So I think your pool of people that you're soliciting feedback from, we're already there.
No, for sure. I mean, yeah, I know this month there was something on Class Dojo that the SLT meeting didn't go out, so it went out kind of last minute. But I mean, you know, we'll try our best to, as we are hosting our meetings, to always have the SLT meeting on there so that we can promote to the parents who are participating in PTA stuff to also try to get on the SLT if they can. But if you have any feedback, if you didn't want to share it here and be put on the spot or anything like that, feel free to reach out to Ryan and give him that feedback. We need to make sure that the SLT understands what parents want and you know, if you feel like you went on the, like, I'll be straight up. Sometimes I'll be on the SLT meetings and it's a little heavy. It's a little heavy. And for me, it's like, how do I keep up with all the jam boards and all this kind of technology? It would be feedback I give to the SLT that there's a little bit too much tech, you know? So if people have thoughts on that, please share it with Ryan because they need to know this, because then the SLT is kind of like shooting blind. Why aren't parents coming on? Why can't we get more parents? So they need that feedback and they want that feedback, which I think is more important. All right, cool. Awesome. Thank you. So coming to the end here, we still have some time to go through some questions and answer period. If anybody has any questions about the principal's report earlier, this is the time to share, or any of the stuff that we went over tonight. Any questions that people have? You can ask it, turn off your mic, or you can also put it in the chat.
Hi, it's Nicole Monteleone, Jonathan and Gabby's mom. Thank you for a great meeting. I don't know, is Ms. Cameron still on? I had a question with regard to the testing.
I'm here.
So like I read up on, like, I see neighborhood school, like a lot of their kids like opted out of testing and now they're like on this performance list. So when I heard about opting out for this year, like I definitely agree. I think it's a great year to opt out if we're ever going to opt out. But then like I was struggling with, like, I don't want to put the school in a hole with statistics if like we don't have enough kids sitting for it. But I also know, you know, Jonathan's in 4th grade, like he's making progress, but he's not where he's supposed to be with COVID. So I just kind of wanted to get your take. Like, I know you suggested opting out, but I also don't want like the school to then be on this list. And hopefully there isn't a list because this is a year, but we kind of know how things go, where they tell you one thing and like a month later, it's like, oh no, we're switching the policy. We're really going to hold this too. So I don't know if like that was brought up or you could speak to that.
Thanks so much for bringing that up, Nicole. So what Nicole is referring to is the fact that if a certain percentage of students opt out of testing, then the state looks at the school and the school can be designated to, you know, have lower performance in comparison to other schools. This brings, you know, extra work on the part of the school to have to prove that we are doing what we can to support our students and to improve our performance across the board. And so for me, this is kind of a moral question, right? And it is about, you know, what are we valuing this particular year? We can talk more about how this impacts our school in the future. But I do think for this particular year, my hope is that there'll be enough schools in the city that kind of really advocate for their families and really kind of push for the fact that we need to be given some level of exception during a time that is unprecedented, that we've never faced before. And quite frankly, our students have been out of school for a year. I mean, we've never faced anything like that. And to be quite honest, as an educator, from my knowledge of what I know about teaching and learning, it takes 2 to 3 years to catch a child up if they've been behind for a full year. And so this is not, to me, this is not about students with IEPs or students without IEPs. I'm talking about all of our children in general. And this is, you know, my personal belief. I have been thinking about tests in general over time and what that will mean to us in the future. But I am talking right now about this moment in time and this particular year. And I am asking people to really think about their conscience. Obviously, if you as a parent do not opt out. We are still preparing our children to be writers, readers, mathematicians. We're not going to change our expectations. We're just really realizing and understanding that things have changed a lot this year, that we haven't been able to do all of the things that we want to be able to do. And we haven't been able to have our students as many days as we normally would have them. And a lot of the teaching that has been done has been based on our technological skills, how good we are with, being able to manage students as they are using technology, which is something that unfortunately I wish we were better prepared for as a school, and we will think about in the future. We probably need to really think about technology as a part of our school fabric in general. And so again, we are rethinking everything we do as a school. But I think for right now, because of everything that's happened this year, I do think that we as a school are willing to take whatever ramifications happen. And so if we get, a designation that we don't like, I as the principal will take full responsibility for that. And I will ensure that our teachers do whatever we need to do to make sure that we are removed from that designated list.
Thank you.
Awesome. Great question, Nicole. Any other questions or comments? I had a quick technical question, Darlene, with the morning check-in thing for the in-person students. What if you tap the wrong button by accident and submit? Is there it happened to me. I was like, oh wait, did I just say something bad? Is it simply just sending you a message, or is there a way to go around it?
Wait, what do you mean when you send
when you're doing the morning check-in, the questionnaire? What if you tap the wrong answer? Because my fingers were cold the other day and I tapped the wrong answer and I was like, oh no.
Oh, so you should be able to go back.
Okay.
You should be able to just press back or press the other option of what you want to press. And you could also do it before you even leave your home if you want, so that you don't have to worry about doing it outside.
You can actually do it, Sean, and if ever that happens, it gives you the option to go ahead and redo the screening. So if you made a mistake and it actually canceled you out or told you can't go into school, you know that it was a mistake, you can retake the test.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Any other questions? Awesome. Well, great meeting everyone. We have a lot of stuff going on right now, which is really exciting. So we'll look out for the email on the committees and participating. We already got a bunch of people in the chat saying they want to be part of the committees, which is great. And by a bunch, I mean 2 or 3. So still volunteer if you're interested. But upcoming things to remember. So Friday, the book fair committee will be meeting at 3 p.m. on March 11th, next Thursday. The fundraising committee will be meeting. We'll figure out the time. On March 18th is our next movie night, which we talked about tonight. We are pushing back the Readathon to April 5th. Spring break will be counting the weekends from the 27th, or is that counting weekends? I don't know. The last week of March into the early part of April. So we'll be back from the break on April 5th. On April 5th, I think, is that what we said, Darlene and Ryan, that is the SLT meeting that day? Or no? Maybe not.
The next SLT meeting is April 26th.
Oh, April 26th. Oh, okay. So just okay, pushing back a bit.
Yeah, we wanted to have some time in between our meetings to kind of do some other committee stuff, work on our CEP goals, etc. But if anybody, we would love anyone who wants to come in and just see what we're doing. Please send me a message on Dojo, or you can email Ryan, who put his email in the chat. We'll be happy to send you the link for you to attend, just to kind of come and see what it's like and get a feel for it.
Awesome. Thank you. And then the very notable is that our bylaws say that our general meeting happens every first Tuesday of the month that we're in session, but that Tuesday would have fell before the executive board was able to meet on April 7th. So we're actually pushing back our general meeting to April 13th because of spring break. So the next general meeting for the PTA will be April 13th. Another thing is that the board meeting, we decided at our board meeting that we will be giving an open invitation to all committee chairs and all SLT parent representatives to participate in our board meetings. It's totally volunteer, but if you can make it to our board meetings, we're going to extend that invitation to all y'all so we can get all of our parent leaders together meeting regularly. All right, cool. So that's what we got going on. Thanks for joining tonight, and we'll see y'all soon.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Great meeting, PTA. Thank you.
Thanks, Arlene.
Good night.